Hello everyone, and welcome to another video in the GameStorm EDU series about game design. This is about creating your prototype and some strategies you can do to create your game physically or digitally. Remember, you can always go to GameStormEDU.com to learn more about these topics. And when you go to GameStormEDU.com, you can head to the resources for creating games and get a copy of the Game Designer template, which has strategies on both prototyping and many other of the topics we discuss in this series. So I highly recommend you go to the website, get a copy of that Game Designer template, and follow along with us. So we are going to talk about creating a prototype in this video, and we're focusing on quick and dirty minimum viable product for somebody to try when we talk about making a prototype. And we'll talk about both physical prototyping and digital prototyping, and they may intermix as well at various points. And we'll look at 5 things that you might be making for your game, how to do those physically and digitally. So the first piece might be if you have cards in your game or you have physical spaces in your game that maybe aren't an entire board. I highly recommend buying some dry erase cards, or if you have some dry erase material, cutting it up into smaller pieces. These could be traditional poker cards that are about 3.5 by 2.5 inches, or you could get hexagonal ones or square ones or even bigger ones, or just use laminated paper if you even need to. But dry erase cards allow you to iterate your design very easily, and if you don't have dry erase material, you could always take an old set of cards, put paper over them, or slip pieces of paper into game sleeves if you need to as well. But dry erase materials like cards are very handy for iterating your design on the fly. So that is one method you can try. Another strategy too is you could go and make digital cards. One website I like is MTG Cardsmith, which allows you to make kind of Magic the Gathering style cards, or you can use the card template on GameStormEDU.com that we've developed, where you can develop your card in Google Slides or Google Drawings as well. The second piece that you might need to make is your meeples, or your little player icons. So one way that you could do this is print out our stand-up game piece and actually develop your own little stand-up game piece. All you need is something to keep it upright, like a paper clip, or you can even get the little stand-up clips, and you could have a little stand-up roll that could move around for your game pieces if you needed to. Another strategy too is if you have the technology available to you, such as a 3D printer, you could go into a free program like Tinkercad and develop your asset actually in 3 dimensions and then 3D print it. It's a great way to practice some STEM skills and make a really unique game piece or object or item or currency for your game. Another option too is if you're looking to design a game board, there's lots of great options. We talked about dry erase cards, but there are also dry erase game boards out there that actually fold out. You can have them be a small game board, or you could fold them out halfway or all the way into a 4-piece game board. And then you could design your map on these game boards, or write on paper and then attach it to it so you can easily fold it up for storage. So I highly recommend checking out dry erase game boards. We have a couple of recommendations at GameStormEDU.com for good game boards to buy. And then the other option too would be using a website such as Genially, which actually has interactive game boards. You can actually use one of their templates and design a game board and then make it interactive. Have a dice that's on it, have movable pieces, have spots when you click on them an action happens or a pop-up happens that gives you further direction. So you can kind of digitize the assets of your game right on the game board using Genially or tons of other different sites out there that allow you to have interactive game boards for a digital version of the game you're making. Another great option, you'll notice a theme with the dry erase materials, are dry erase dice. I really like big dry erase dice because it allows me to grab the edges when I'm rolling. If you have small dry erase dice, you can actually accidentally rub off the text that you put on them, or the images, or the markings, or the numbers on them. So if you use big dry erase dice like the ones we've linked to on GameStormEDU.com, gives you some area to grab the dice and roll the dice without ruining your design. So dry erase dice, great for iterating unique types of dice. There's also a Dice Maker website and Dice Maker templates on GameStormEDU.com and out on the internet. So we've linked to a couple that we like, and also some random dice generators. So if you're trying an online version of your game, you can just go onto that website, say, hey, roll a 6-sided dice for me, roll a 20-sided dice for me, whatever it might be, and it'll give you the die result without you having to have the physical dice. Now, it's nice to have the physical dice when you're trying things out, but the digital dice are a great way to make unique dice that maybe you don't have access to. And our fifth and final piece that you might need to make are good instructions. I think there's two main ways to approach designing your instructions. You can make them physically with some visuals, and I highly recommend not only writing your instructions, but including visuals with it. Ideally, visuals of your game. Take pictures of your game. If you made them digitally, add the digital assets to your physical instructions. So this is an example of our game GameStormers and some early instructional designs that include the game assets on the instructions. Another great option is actually doing video instructions. And this is where you actually film parts of the game in action and then edit them together in a nice compact package. So ideally you have a how to play that isn't longer than, say, 5 minutes, that somebody can quickly pull up, watch, pause, rewind, replay as they're playing to get a sense of it. And even better if there's little markings of here's how to learn this feature, this mechanic, this objective. Makes it much easier for people to navigate how to play your game. So there you go. Those are 5 ways to prototype and 5 things to prototype and ways to do it digitally and physically. Have fun designing your game prototype.